Where your spare change might just turn into a serious payday. Today we are diving into a tiny coin with a gigantic story. That is right, we are talking about the 1978 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny, a little coppery circle that could be sitting unnoticed in your pocket right now, worth not pennies, not dollars, but millions of dollars. Yeah, you heard me right, millions. Imagine finding one of these bad boys under your car seat and realizing you just struck gold without even buying a lottery ticket. So, if you have ever rolled your eyes when grandma told you to check your pennies, get ready to call her and apologize, because grandma knew something we didn't. Alright, let's get down to it. First of all, let's talk about what makes the 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln penny so special. Normally a penny without a mint mark was made in Philadelphia, and you would think, okay, cool, big deal, right? Wrong. This particular year had some very unique minting errors and very limited numbers that slipped through unnoticed. Now here is where it gets spicy. These rare versions have what collectors call deep strike features, meaning the details on Lincoln's face and the word Liberty pop out like a 3D movie without the funny glasses. On top of that, a few were minted with slightly different copper compositions during the transition to more zinc-based pennies in the early 80s. So these pennies are like the hybrid cars of the coin world, a little bit of the old mixed with a little bit of the new, and because of these quirks, collectors go absolutely bananas for them. I am talking about folks paying upwards of $1 million in auctions. No joke. Some private sales have even whispered about numbers creeping close to 15 million for ultra-perfect specimens with strong strikes and no circulation damage. Now let me tell you a quick story about the time I almost had one of these suckers back in my college days when I was surviving on ramen noodles and bad decisions. I had a part-time job working at a gas station. One slow afternoon, a guy came in with a jar full of change. He was short a few bucks for gas, so he dumped the whole jar on the counter for me to count through manually because the coin machine was broken. Now I don't know about you, but after counting the millionth penny I started daydreaming about quitting and running off to a beach somewhere. But somewhere in that pile I noticed a super shiny 1978 penny. It just looked different, it felt heavier, sharper, but of course, being a broke college kid with a 10-minute attention span, I just shrugged, pocketed it, and spent it later on a vending machine snack. Fast forward to now, when I realized that could have been $1 million penny. Yep, I could have been sipping margaritas on my private island instead of sitting here crying into my keyboard. Live and learn, folks, live and learn. First thing you gotta do is check your pennies. Look for the 1978 year and make sure there is no mint mark under the date. Then check for strong, sharp details, especially around Lincoln's beard and the lettering around the edges. If the penny looks like it was just minted yesterday, you might be onto something. Condition is king here. A beat-up, scratched coin will not fetch you top dollar, but a shiny, sharp penny could be your ticket to early retirement. Coins graded MS-67 and above by grading services like PCGS are the real jackpot winners. Also a quick tip, keep an eye out for something called doubling. This is where letters or numbers look like they have a shadow behind them. A 1978 penny with doubling can send its value skyrocketing even higher. Now you might be wondering where to sell. If you find one, you have got options, baby. You can auction it through places like Heritage Auctions or Great Collections, or even hit up private collectors directly through coin shows and online groups. Just make sure you get your coin authenticated before you start making it rain. So there you have it, folks, the humble 1978 no mint mark Lincoln penny might just be the hidden treasure you have been stepping over all these years. Do not be like me crying over a lost $1 million snack. Run, check your coin jars, your couch cushions, even the floor of your car. You never know what you might find. And hey, if you want to keep learning how to turn your pocket change into serious bank, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. We have got tons more coin hunting tips, strategies and stories coming your way, because at the end of the day, finding rare coins is not just a hobby, it's a lifestyle, and who knows, you could be one coin away from living your best life. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Good luck out there, and as always, keep your heads up and your eyes on those pennies, where we turn pocket change into pure treasure. Now let me ask you something real quick. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? I mean really looked at them, not just scooped them up off the counter or out of the cup holder in your truck. Because let me tell you right now, you might just be sitting on a tiny copper coin that is worth not a couple bucks, not a couple $100, but millions. That is right. Today we are diving headfirst into the incredible story of the 1975 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that has been quietly causing major buzz in the coin collecting world and setting auction houses on fire with eye-watering bids. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back and get ready, because by the end of this video you are gonna be tearing apart your couch cushions like a pirate hunting for buried treasure. The 1975 Lincoln penny is just your regular old penny. At first glance it's got Honest Abe sittin' there looking serious like he just read your electric bill. It says Liberty on the Left the year 1975 on the right and in God we trust above his head, nothing crazy right. In 1975 pennies were supposed to be minted mainly at two locations, Philadelphia and Denver. Philadelphia traditionally did not put a mint mark on their coins, so most pennies from there would have no mark at all, and that was normal. However, rare errors and special versions slipped through the cracks, and today collectors are drooling over specific 1975 no mint mark pennies that are in flawless condition or have rare minting mistakes. Some 1975 no mint mark Lincoln pennies have been discovered in such pristine condition or with rare flaws like double dies, off-center strikes, or other wild mistakes that their value has gone through the roof. I'm talking about auction prices reaching a cool $1 million and up. Yeah, imagine flipping a penny into a wishing fountain and finding out later you just tossed away a mansion worth of money. There are millions of regular 1975 pennies floating around, but coins with specific errors or perfect mint state condition are extremely rare, especially after decades of wear and tear. Collectors love coins that look like they were just made yesterday, so coins graded MS67, MS68 or better by companies like PCGS or NGC are highly sought after. The 1970s were a major turning point for the US economy. Inflation was wild, gas prices were crazier than a raccoon in a garbage can, and the penny was still being made mostly of copper rather than the cheaper zinc used later on. All these factors make a top-grade 1975 no mint mark penny a dream find for collectors. Back when I first got into coin collecting, I was not exactly what you would call an expert. I thought a double die was just when you dropped two coins at once. One day I was digging through an old coffee tin of pennies at my grandma's house and came across a 1975 no mint mark penny that looked so shiny I thought it had been polished with bacon grease, but something told me to hang on to it. Maybe it was Abe's judging stare, I do not know. Fast forward a few years when I actually learned how to grade coins properly. I dug that penny out again, had it graded, and buddy, let me tell you, it was almost mint state, perfect, sharp details, blazing luster like it just rolled off the press. Now mine was not one of the ultra rare $1 million types, but it still got me a nice chunk of change and a huge adrenaline rush. Moral of the story: never underestimate a penny, never underestimate grandma either. She knew what she was doing. Keeping that tin when you are sifting through your pennies. Here are some things to look for. First, look for a strong clear strike. If the coin looks super sharp with no signs of heavy wear, it might be a good candidate. Double dies where the letters or numbers look kinda doubled off, center strikes where the design is shifted, die cracks that look like tiny raised lines. Even small things like misaligned dies can add serious value. Third, and super important, check the surface. If you see spots or scratches, it drops the value big time. And do not forget, if you think you found something special, get it professionally graded. Trust me, it's worth it. That $50 grading fee could be the best investment you ever make. Now you might be wondering, what if I don't have a 1975 penny? Should I still be digging through my coins? Because there are so many hidden treasures out there waiting to be found, from rare quarters to error nickels to dollar coins with wacky mistakes. You just gotta know what to look for. Who wouldn't want an excuse to spend an afternoon sifting through change like a kid in a candy store? Plus, every coin you find adds up. You can build a collection, pass it down to your kids, or even sell it piece by piece for some serious side income. And if you ask me, I'd rather spend a Saturday searching for treasure than mowing the lawn any day. The 1975 no mint mark Lincoln penny might look like an everyday coin, but with the right condition or rare error, it can be worth a literal fortune. Take a second look at those pennies lying around your house, at the bottom of your backpack, in your glove box, you name it, because you never know. And remember, it is not just about the money, it's about the thrill, the history, and the stories behind every single coin. If you enjoyed hanging out today and want more tips on finding valuable coins, plus some good laughs and personal stories along the way, make sure you smash that subscribe button like you are trying to crack open a treasure chest. Hit that bell so you never miss a new video, because you better believe we got a lot more coin hunting strategies coming your way. Thanks for watching, friends. Now get out there and start digging through your change. You might just find your $1 million penny waiting for you. Where we turn pocket change into potential paydays. Today we are diving deep into a coin that might just be hiding right under your couch cushions, and trust me, you are gonna want to grab a flashlight and a magnifying glass after this one. We are talking about the 2020 D mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Now you might be thinking, come on man, a 2020 penny that is like brand new, how could that possibly be worth anything? Well, buckle up, because by the end of this video you will see why. Some of these Little copper beauties are fetching $1 million on the market. That is right, $1 million for a coin you might have walked past at the gas station this morning. And to prove how real this is, I am gonna share a funny story about the time I almost spent a coin worth thousands just because I was craving a burrito at lunch. You do not want to miss this, so sit back, relax, maybe even grab a handful of pennies from the junk drawer, because today could be the day you realize you are sitting on a fortune. Alright, first things first, what makes the 2020 Lincoln penny so special? Because let's be honest, there are billions of these pennies out there, right? How could one of them possibly be worth more than my entire truck? It all comes down to errors and condition. That is the magic combo right there. You see, when the Denver Mint pumped out these pennies in 2020, they had a few hiccups. Some of these coins were struck off center, some have die cracks where the coin literally looks like it was hit by lightning. Others have crazy doubling where parts of the design, like the date or the lettering, look like they are seeing double without a drop of whiskey involved. Collectors go absolutely nuts for these kinds of mistakes. It is like finding a misprinted baseball card, but way cooler, because you can technically still spend it if you want, which you should not. Please do not. Now, the 2020 pennies that are worth the big bucks are the ones that have major noticeable errors and are in what we call mint state condition. Mint state means they look basically untouched, fresh as a daisy, straight from the mint. No scratches, no fingerprints, no gum stuck to them from being in a kid's pocket. If you find a 2020 penny with, say, a dramatic off-center strike where part of the design is missing, or a heavy die crack running across Lincoln's face, buddy, you could be looking at a serious payday. We are talking tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands, and in a few special cases even $1 million for the absolute best of the best examples. And let us not forget grading. Grading is like getting a report card for your coin. Professional services like PCGS and NGC slap your coin into a hard case and give it a score from 1 to 70. The closer you are to 70, the better. If your crazy error penny gets graded MS68 or MS69, you are cooking with gas. Speaking of cooking with gas, let me tell you a little story about my lunch one day a couple years ago. I had just gotten into collecting seriously, and I was all fired up about checking my change everywhere I went. Well, I was starving one afternoon and hit up my favorite Mexican place. Shout out to Mama Rosa's. If you know, you know. I pull up to the counter, order a massive burrito the size of my forearm, and reach into my pocket to pay. Without thinking, I pull out a bunch of coins I had been meaning to check, including a shiny new 2020 penny. The cashier gives me a funny look and says, "Hey, that is a nice looking penny. You sure you want to use that one?" I shrug, laugh it off, and toss it into the tip jar, because I am a big spender like that. Later that night I am watching coin videos, and bam, there it is, a video talking about how rare 2020 pennies with die cracks can be. I remember the penny from earlier and my stomach drops faster than my burrito did in my belly. I drive back to Mama Rosa's, but of course the tip jar is empty except for a few crusty nickels. I missed out on what could have been a small fortune, all because I was thinking with my stomach instead of my brain. Moral of the story: always check your coins before you spend them. No exceptions, even if your mouth is watering and you are about to pass out from hunger. Another thing to watch out for is double dies. This is when the design elements get duplicated during the minting process. Imagine Lincoln looking like he has had a couple too many. He is a little blurry around the edges. That is what collectors dream about. The doubling on a valuable 2020 penny will usually show up on In God We Trust Liberty or the date 2020. If you need a magnifying glass to see it, that is okay. These things can be super subtle, but when they are real and authenticated, oh boy, you are looking at some serious cash. Market-wise, as of right now, top examples of these error 2020 pennies have sold for anywhere between $20,000 to over $1 million at auction, depending on the severity of the error and the coin's grade. And you know what is crazy? The market is still heating up. It is not slowing down. In fact, because more people are waking up to how important condition and errors are, the competition for high-end examples is getting fiercer by the day. So if you have a jar full of change sitting in your closet, now is the time to go through it. Do not wait until next year when the guy down the street finds his $1 million penny and you are left kicking yourself. Second, check for any obvious weirdness, missing parts, odd shapes, cracks, or blurry lettering. Third, if you spot something interesting, get that bad boy under a magnifying glass or a coin loop. Fourth, if it still looks good, consider sending it to a grading company. Yes, it costs a little money, but if you hit the jackpot, it is the best investment you will ever make. And finally, be patient. Coin hunting is a lot like fishing. You might go a few days or even weeks without finding anything, but when you do, man oh man, it is worth it. The 2020 Abraham Lincoln penny is proof that you do not need to dig for gold to strike it rich. Sometimes all it Takes as a sharp eye a little knowledge and maybe a burrito break that does not end in tragedy like mine. Remember the key things to look for: major errors, mint state condition, doubling and shiny luster, and whatever you do not spend your coins before giving them a good look. Now if you enjoyed hanging out today and you want to learn even more tips, tricks and strategies for finding coins worth serious money, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button right now, ring that notification bell so you never miss out on a new video. We have got tons more coin stories coming your way, plus a few more embarrassing moments from yours truly, because hey, if you cannot laugh at yourself you are missing out on half the fun. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, your fortune might just be hiding in your change jar. Keep hunting and keep smiling. Hey there my fellow treasure hunters and couch archaeologists, have you ever been digging through your spare change looking for a few quarters for the vending machine and thought to yourself, what if one of these old pennies was worth $1 million? Well, guess what, you might be sitting on a gold mine right in your piggy bank. Today we are diving headfirst into one of the most mind-blowing coin stories out there, the legendary 1987 no mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny that could be worth millions. Yes, millions with an M. Before you start flipping your couch cushions and raiding your kids' piggy bank, stick around, because I am about to tell you exactly what to look for, how this happened, and why the market has completely lost its mind over this coin. Alright, let's roll up our sleeves, grab that cup of coffee and get ready, because today could be the day you realize you are richer than you think. About a year ago I was at a garage sale looking for some old baseball cards and maybe a used golf club I definitely did not need. I spotted this old dusty jar full of coins for sale, marked $5, all of it. Now being the sucker for old junk that I am, I bought it without even thinking. When I got home I dumped it out on my kitchen table, coins spilled everywhere like I hit the jackpot at a Vegas slot machine. My wife walked in, took one look and said, "Oh great, more clutter." As I was sifting through I found an ordinary looking penny from 1987. At first I was like, man, another penny, but then I noticed something strange. There was no mint mark, not a D for Denver, not an S for San Francisco, not a zip. I thought maybe it was just worn off, but the coin looked too clean. The details were crisp, the date was sharp, it looked like something was missing, not worn down. So like any normal person obsessed with coins, I grabbed a magnifying glass and then hit the internet hard, and boy was I glad I did. You see, the US Mint normally stamps a little letter on coins to show where they were made. For pennies it is usually a D for Denver or no mark at all for Philadelphia, but for a 1987 penny the expectation is super clear. There should be a strong mint mark or obvious wear, but when you find one that has literally no mark and looks pristine, you might have something special. In rare cases mint errors happen. A blank planchet might skip a step or a die might be misaligned. Combine that with good preservation and boom, you get a rare collectible. And because of how few perfect no mint mark 1987 pennies there are, collectors have gone absolutely bonkers over them. Prices have shot through the roof in the past few years. If you have a 1987 penny without a mint mark in flawless condition, we are talking about values starting around $500,000 and in some recent high-profile sales even topping $1 million. Yeah, you heard that right, one little brown coin sitting in the bottom of your glove compartment could be worth more than a 4-bedroom house in the suburbs. Now condition matters big time. If your penny has been through the washing machine 5 times, it probably is not worth that much, but if it looks shiny, fresh and shows all those beautiful little details, you could be holding a ticket to early retirement. First thing you need to do is find your old jars, drawers and sock piles. Wherever you stash your loose change, go through them carefully. Grab a cheap magnifying glass. If you need to look for the 1987 date, make sure it looks sharp, then check for the absence of a mint mark. If it is missing and the rest of the coin looks like it just came out of the mint, you could have something real special. A good tip is to weigh it too. A proper penny from that year should weigh about 25 grams. If it feels super light or heavy, it might be a fake. Always double check with a professional appraiser before you cash it in. You know what is crazy? Most people have seen these coins and just pass them off as regular boring pennies, because let's face it, pennies are like the annoying little brother of the coin world, always around, always easy to ignore, but it is exactly that boredom that hides treasures in plain sight. Sometimes the most valuable things are the ones we overlook day after day. Back to my story. Remember that coin jar from the garage sale? Well, not only did I find that mysterious 1987 penny, but I also found a 1943 steel penny and a Canadian penny from 1919. I showed them to my wife, all excited like a kid showing off a frog he caught, and she just shook her head and said, "Great, now we are collecting garbage from other people's basements." But hey, a few months later when I sold the 1943 steel penny for a few $100, she changed her tune real fast. Now she is the one asking me if we can go hit up estate sales on Saturday mornings. The moral of the story is this: never underestimate the power of loose change. That crusty old penny in the bottom of your car cup holder could be worth more than your whole car. The 1987 No Mint Mark Lincoln penny is a reminder that treasure is often hiding in the places we least expect. If you take a little time, pay a little attention, and maybe get a little lucky, you could find a coin worth a fortune. So here is what I want you to do right after you finish watching this video. Go check your coin. Seriously, dump out that jar, dig through that change drawer, look in your couch. You never know. And hey, if you like this kind of content where we turn everyday junk into jackpot wins, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Smash it like you are trying to find that $1 million penny hiding in your spare change. I have got a lot more coin hunting tips coming your way. You do not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I will catch you next time. Happy hunting, and may your pockets always be full of hidden treasures. I bet you didn't expect to hear about a penny worth $1 million, did you? Well, buckle up, because today we're diving into the wild world of the 1988 No Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Yes, you heard me right. A penny that could potentially make you a millionaire. Now, I know what you're thinking, a penny? Really? But this is no ordinary penny. In fact, it's one of those rare finds that'll have you doing a double take. You might even start checking the coins in your pocket with a little more excitement after this video. And trust me, if you're serious about coin collecting, you don't want to miss this. Stick with me through the next 50 minutes, and you might just find yourself with a new hobby, and maybe a new fortune. So grab your magnifying glass and let's get into it. I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll be a lot more careful with your pennies. Alright, first off, let's talk about what makes this 1988 penny so special. You're probably thinking, it's just a penny, right? What's the big deal? But this is where it gets interesting. Back in 1988, the US Mint produced a lot of pennies, as they do every year. However, the 1988 penny without a mint mark, yep, that's the one we're after, is something that collectors have started to get excited about in recent years. You see, most pennies have a mint mark on them, right? That little D for Denver or S for San Francisco. But in 1988, a small number of pennies were released without any mint mark at all. Now, I'm not saying every 1988 penny without a mint mark is worth $1 million. But if you find one in perfect condition, especially if it's uncirculated or has the right kind of error in its production, you're looking at a coin worth far more than the average penny. Well, there are a couple of factors. First, it's rare. You know what they say, rarity equals value. And when a coin is rare but still in circulation, it becomes a hot commodity for collectors. And because the 1988 No Mint Mark penny isn't something you'll find easily, its value has skyrocketed over time. The real kicker here is that some 1988 No Mint Mark pennies have been auctioned off for over $1 million. Yeah, $1 million. How insane is that for a coin that's practically been overlooked for decades? Alright, now let's talk about how you can actually identify this golden, well, copper, nugget in the wild. You're not going to just find it by chance in your spare change while grabbing a coffee, but it's possible. Look at the front of the penny, the side with Lincoln's face. Normally, you'll see a D or S there. If it's missing entirely, then you might have the coin we're after. Even if you find one without a mint mark, the condition of the coin matters. A well-worn penny? Not going to cut it. But if it's uncirculated, or near mint, that's where the magic happens. You're looking for a crisp, clear image of Lincoln and the lettering. If there's anything off about it, like a slight double strike or a misalignment in the design, those errors can make the penny worth even more. Okay, I've got a funny little story to share. A while back, I was sorting through some of my old change. I know, who does that? But you never know what you'll find, right? Anyway, I was going through some pennies when I stumbled upon a 1988 penny with no mint mark. I thought, that's strange. Maybe it's just an error coin. Probably worth a couple of bucks. Now, I wasn't expecting much, but I decided to give it a quick look online. Turns out, it had some noticeable wear and tear, but it still had some value, especially considering it was missing the mint mark. Long story short, I ended up selling it at an auction for a lot more than I expected, nothing close to $1 million, but enough to make me realize that this hobby could pay off in ways I never imagined. It was like a light bulb went off. It wasn't just about collecting for fun anymore. I was diving into a world where pennies could turn into pretty hefty paydays if you knew what to look for. And let me tell you, that feeling of finding a coin worth more than its face value? It's exhilarating. Well, here's where things get tricky. Since the 1988 no-mint mark penny is so rare, you're not going to come across them every day. But here are a few tips for increasing your chances. It might sound a little basic, but people forget to check their pocket change. Keep an eye out every time you're paying for something in cash. Buy a few rolls of pennies from your local bank. If you're lucky, you might stumble upon an uncirculated 1988 penny without a mint mark. Online auctions and marketplaces. Some collectors sell these coins at online auctions, and you can sometimes find great deals or rare finds from reputable sellers. The 1988 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny is definitely a rare find, and if you get your hands on one, it could be worth a pretty penny, pun intended. But it's not just about the money, it's about the thrill of the hunt and the satisfaction of finding something valuable in an unexpected place. If you're serious about coin collecting, it's time to get those eyes trained on your change and those rolls of pennies. Who knows, the next $1 million coin might just be sitting in your pocket right now. Before you go, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video for more tips on rare coins and collecting strategies. Trust me, you won't want to miss out on any of the gems we'll be uncovering in the future. Hey there, coin collectors and curious treasure hunters. I'm sure you've all heard the saying, a penny saved is a penny earned, but what if I told you that some pennies could actually make you a fortune? You might be wondering, how could something as tiny and seemingly insignificant as a penny be worth $1 million? Well, stick around because I'm about to drop some knowledge on a little-known coin that could change your view on pocket change forever. Today, we're talking about the 2014 mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny, a coin that's worth way more than just its face value. I know what you're thinking, wait, a penny from 2014? You've got to be kidding me. But trust me, this coin is one you might want to keep an eye out for. And by the end of this video, you'll be digging through your change, checking your drawers, and maybe even looking under the couch cushions for a rare find that could make you a millionaire. Alright, let's break it down. First things first, we're talking about a penny from 2014, stamped with the D mint mark, meaning it was produced in the Denver Mint. This is where things get interesting. Normally, you'd expect to find a penny like this worth exactly 1 cent, right? But here's where it gets wild, there are a handful of these pennies out there that are worth millions. Yep, you heard me right, millions. How did that happen? You see, in 2014, the US Mint issued a set of pennies that had a few production quirks. Some of these pennies were struck with incorrect dies, leading to minting errors that made them super valuable. There are different varieties of these error pennies, and some can fetch a price of over $1 million if they're in pristine condition. Imagine finding one of these in your change, just hanging out like any other penny. Now, let's talk about what makes these pennies so valuable. First, it's all about the error. You see, the 2014 D penny is particularly prized because of some rare misprints, where the design was imperfectly struck. Maybe the lettering got a little too blurry, or the image of Lincoln got a bit off-center. These mistakes are what coin collectors call die errors, and let me tell you, collectors go nuts for them. It's like a little treasure hunt every time someone finds one of these rare pennies. Most people don't even know what they're holding onto when they come across one of these special coins. Back when I first started collecting coins, I remember finding a penny in my change that looked a little funny. The edges were a bit worn, and Lincoln's face seemed off-center. I thought it was just some junk coin, tossed it into a jar, and forgot about it. A few years later, I saw a story about error pennies, and I had to facepalm. If I had done a little more digging back then, I could have been holding onto a coin worth thousands. But hey, it's all part of the learning process. Let's talk about the specifics here. The 2014 D penny can be worth anywhere from a few bucks to millions of dollars depending on the rarity of the error and the coin's condition. The more pristine, the better. So, if you're lucky enough to have a penny with a significant die error, and it's in good shape, don't be surprised if that little copper coin turns into a payday. Finding one of these valuable pennies isn't as easy as just looking for a random coin in your pocket. You've got to be really diligent. After all, these pennies aren't just floating around willy-nilly. You have to inspect every detail to spot the error. We're talking about checking the year, the mint mark, and, of course, looking for imperfections in the design. Some of these pennies have doubled letters or blurry numbers, which can really throw off the value. For example, if you spot a double die error, that's a surefire way to start calculating a hefty price tag. Some of these coins have sold for over $1 million at auctions, and they keep popping up. I've gotta say, though, the excitement of finding an error coin is something else. When I found my first one, it felt like I had just discovered a hidden treasure. I almost felt like a pirate, but instead of buried treasure, I was digging through pocket change. It's a rush. Now, how do you actually tell if you've got one of these $1 million pennies in your hands? Great question. There are a few key things you need to look for. The better the condition, the higher the value. A coin with visible scratches, dings, or discoloration is probably not going to bring in a huge payout. But if your 2014 D penny is in near mint or uncirculated condition, you're looking at something that could be worth much more. The most sought-after errors are double die errors or off-center strikes. These can make a huge difference in the value. If you've got one of these, you might just be sitting on a gold mine. Not every 2014 D penny is a rare error. But if you've got one of the rare types of die errors, you're definitely in luck. These are the ones that get the attention of collectors that I can't emphasize enough how important it is to keep an eye out for these types of details. I remember walking into a coin shop one day with a handful of pennies, just hoping to get a few bucks for them. The dealer took one look at the pile and pulled out a 2014 D penny I had never noticed before. It had a slight double die error on the date. I nearly fell over when he told me that penny could be worth thousands of dollars. Moral of the story: always pay attention to the little details, it could change your life. So, after all of this, I'm sure you're ready to get your hands on a 2014 D Abraham Lincoln penny. Now, you might be thinking, how do I find one of these? Honestly, it's all about keeping an eye out. You never know when you'll come across one in your change, and trust me, it's worth checking. Whether you're diving through your change jar, hitting up garage sales, or browsing through eBay listings, the hunt is part of the fun. Finding these rare error coins is not a guarantee. It takes time, effort, and a bit of luck. But if you stick with it, and keep your eyes peeled, you might just find a coin that turns your pocket change into a fortune. And remember, as you're building your coin collection, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I've got plenty more tips and strategies on finding coins that could be worth a ton of money, and you won't want to miss any of them. Trust me, you never know when your next $1 million penny could turn up, so, go out there and start hunting. And if you find something great, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your stories about your rare coin finds. Until next time, happy hunting, and keep your change close, because you never know what might be hiding in it. ChatGPT CA